July 8, 1984. The backstage area at Madison Square Garden was buzzing with the kind of electric tension that only emerged when two of rock music's most legendary guitarists found themselves in the same venue, each preparing for performances that would showcase their distinctive approaches to the electric guitar and their very different philosophies about what constituted true musical artistry. Eddie Van Halen, the 29-year-old virtuoso whose revolutionary two-handed tapping technique and innovative use of effects had redefined what was possible on the electric guitar, was tuning up for Van Halen's headlining performance, while 26-year-old Prince Rogers Nelson was preparing for his opening set as part of his Purple Rain tour, which had been breaking attendance records across the country and establishing him as one of the most dynamic live performers of his generation. The two musicians had never met before, but they were certainly aware of each other's work and reputations, and their backstage encounter would create one of the most talked-about moments in rock history, a brief but legendary exchange that perfectly captured the difference between technical showmanship and pure musical genius, and demonstrated why Prince's abilities extended far beyond the pop star image that some rock purists had unfairly assigned to him. When Eddie Van Halen casually dismissed Prince as just a pop star during their conversation and suggested that real guitar mastery required the kind of technical complexity that characterized heavy rock music, he had no idea that Prince was about to respond with a demonstration so brief, so technically perfect, and so musically devastating that it would leave one of rock's greatest guitar heroes completely speechless and fundamentally change his understanding of what true guitar mastery actually looked like. If you want to discover the moments when Prince silenced his critics not with words but with demonstrations of pure musical genius that transcended all genre boundaries and expectations, please subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. What you're about to witness proves that the greatest artists don't argue about their abilities, they simply demonstrate them. The Purple Rain tour had established Prince as one of the most compelling live performers in popular music, combining theatrical elements with musical virtuosity in ways that created concert experiences unlike anything audiences had encountered. Prince's stage shows featured elaborate sets, costume changes, and most importantly, live musical performances that showcased his abilities as a multi-instrumentalist who could seamlessly transition between guitar, keyboards, and vocals while maintaining complete command over the audience. However, Prince's success in the popular music world had led some critics and musicians from other genres, particularly in rock and heavy metal communities, to dismiss him as primarily an entertainer rather than a serious musician. These critics argued that Prince's focus on theatrical presentation and commercial appeal indicated that his musical abilities were secondary to his image, and that his work couldn't be compared to the technical achievements of serious rock guitarists. Eddie Van Halen represented the opposite end of the musical spectrum from Prince. Van Halen's approach was built around technical innovation, instrumental virtuosity, and guitar-centered compositions that showcased complex playing techniques. Eddie's revolutionary two-handed tapping technique, innovative use of effects, and ability to create guitar sounds that had never been heard before had made him a hero to rock guitarists worldwide. The contrast between Prince's pop sensibilities and Van Halen's rock focus had created something of a divide in the music world, with fans and critics often viewing the two artists as representing fundamentally different approaches to popular music. That evening, 28-year-old music journalist Sarah Martinez had been granted backstage access to document the interactions between different artists for Rolling Stone magazine. She was particularly interested in exploring how musicians from different genres interacted with each other. The backstage area at Madison Square Garden was designed to accommodate multiple artists simultaneously, with separate dressing rooms connected by common areas where musicians could interact during concert logistics. These shared spaces often became informal meeting grounds, where artists who might never encounter each other could exchange ideas and sometimes engage in spontaneous musical interactions. Sarah had been observing these dynamics when she noticed Eddie Van Halen and Prince encounter each other near the equipment staging zone. Both musicians appeared to be taking breaks from their soundcheck activities, and their initial interaction seemed friendly as they introduced themselves and began discussing the evening's performances. The conversation started conventionally, with Eddie and Prince exchanging compliments about each other's commercial success, and discussing the technical challenges of performing in large venues. Eddie expressed appreciation for Prince's ability to connect with audiences, while Prince acknowledged Eddie's reputation as an innovative guitarist. However, as the conversation continued, it became apparent that Eddie had reservations about the artistic validity of Prince's approach to music and guitar playing. While Eddie remained polite, he began expressing the view that Prince's focus on popular appeal represented a fundamentally different kind of musical achievement than the technical innovation that characterized serious rock music. "You're obviously incredibly successful," Eddie said to Prince, "and you know how to give audiences what they want. But what you do is really more about entertainment than music, isn't it? I mean, you're basically a pop star who happens to play some guitar, rather than a guitarist who happens to be popular." This comment revealed Eddie's assumption that Prince's guitar abilities were secondary to his other talents, and that his musical achievements were primarily the result of marketing rather than genuine instrumental mastery. Eddie seemed to believe that Prince's success indicated he was more entertainer than musician. Prince listened to Eddie's assessment without showing signs of offense, maintaining the calm, observant demeanor that characterized his interactions with other musicians. However, Sarah Martinez noticed a subtle change in Prince's expression that suggested he was carefully considering how to respond to Eddie's implicit challenge. "That's an interesting perspective," Prince replied quietly. "I suppose there are different ways to approach the guitar and different standards for what constitutes mastery. Would you mind if I borrowed your guitar for a moment? I'd like to show you something." Eddie, apparently confident that any demonstration Prince might offer would confirm his assessment about the difference between pop and serious rock technique, readily agreed to let Prince use his instrument. Eddie's guitar was a custom-built Frankenstein Stratocaster that he had personally modified specifically for his playing style, equipped with high-output pickups and modified electronics that enabled the advanced techniques that characterized his revolutionary approach. Before we reveal what Prince did with Eddie Van Halen's legendary guitar that left one of rock's greatest heroes completely speechless, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been completely wrong about someone's abilities based on your assumptions about their background or image? How did discovering the truth change your perspective? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Prince took Eddie's guitar and spent about 10 seconds adjusting the strap and testing the instrument's setup, familiarizing himself with the guitar's specific characteristics. This brief preparation gave no indication of what was about to occur, as Prince's movements were casual and his expression remained calm, rather than showing signs of preparation for technically demanding performance. What happened next lasted exactly 0.19 seconds according to the video footage that Sarah Martinez captured, but those 0.19 seconds contained a display of guitar technique so advanced, so precisely executed, and so musically sophisticated that it immediately silenced every assumption Eddie Van Halen had made about Prince's abilities. In that brief moment, Prince executed a complex sequence that included lightning-fast alternate picking, two-handed tapping that exceeded Eddie's own technical standards, harmonic manipulation that created sounds Eddie had never heard before, and a melodic phrase that was both technically perfect and emotionally compelling. The sequence was performed with precision that demonstrated not only exceptional physical ability but also complete theoretical understanding of advanced guitar techniques. But what made Prince's demonstration truly extraordinary wasn't just the technical perfection, it was how he combined multiple advanced techniques into a single cohesive musical statement that sounded effortless and natural rather than like a technical exercise. Prince's 0.19-second phrase wasn't just speed and dexterity, it was a complete musical idea that demonstrated his ability to use advanced techniques in service of genuine artistic expression rather than mere showmanship. The immediate effect on Eddie Van Halen was visible and dramatic. Eddie, who had been standing casually with arms crossed and a slight smile, suddenly straightened up with an expression of complete shock and amazement. His mouth fell open, his eyes widened, and for several seconds he appeared unable to speak as he processed what he had witnessed. "What? How did you?" Eddie finally managed to say, his voice trailing off as he struggled to find adequate words. I've never seen anything like that. How long have you been working on that technique?" Prince's response was characteristically modest. "I've been playing for a while," he said simply as he handed Eddie's guitar back to him. "I appreciate you letting me try your instrument. It's really well set up for that kind of playing." Eddie took his guitar back with hands that were visibly shaking slightly. "I owe you an apology," Eddie said after a moment. "I completely misjudged what you're capable of. That was incredible. I don't think I could do what you just did, and I've been working on advanced techniques for years." Sarah Martinez later described the moment as watching one guitar legend discover that another artist he had completely underestimated was actually operating at a level beyond what he had imagined possible. Perhaps the most impressive aspect was Prince's gracious response to Eddie's apology. Instead of using the moment to criticize Eddie's initial assessment or assert his own superiority, Prince chose to build bridges and create mutual respect. "There's no need to apologize," Prince told Eddie. "You're doing incredible work in rock music, and you've influenced so many guitarists with your innovations. I've actually studied a lot of your techniques and incorporated some of your ideas into my own playing. We're just working in different contexts, but that doesn't make one approach more valid than the other." The conversation that followed lasted nearly an hour, with Eddie asking detailed questions about Prince's technical training, his approach to developing advanced techniques, and his methods for incorporating complex guitar work into popular music contexts. Prince was generous with his explanations and demonstrated several additional techniques while always maintaining focus on how these techniques served musical rather than purely technical goals. "I have to ask," Eddie said at one point, "why don't you showcase these abilities more prominently in your recorded music? You could easily build an entire career around guitar virtuosity alone." Prince's answer revealed important insights into his artistic philosophy. "I use whatever techniques serve the song," Prince explained. "Sometimes that means playing very simply, and sometimes it means using more advanced approaches. The goal is always to create music that connects with people emotionally, and technical complexity is just one tool among many for achieving that connection." This philosophy represented a fundamental difference between Prince's approach and the guitar hero model that dominated much of 1980s rock music. While many rock guitarists focused primarily on showcasing technical abilities, Prince viewed guitar technique as one element in a larger musical toolkit that should always serve overall artistic goals. The impact of this backstage encounter extended far beyond the personal interaction. Word of Prince's extraordinary guitar demonstrations spread quickly through the music industry, leading to increased respect for Prince's abilities among rock musicians and critics who had previously dismissed him as primarily a pop entertainer. Many established rock guitarists began studying Prince's recorded work more carefully, discovering technical sophistication that had been overlooked when evaluated only in popular music context. Eddie Van Halen became one of Prince's most vocal advocates within the rock community, frequently mentioning their backstage encounter in interviews and describing Prince as one of the most underrated guitarists in the world. Eddie's endorsement carried significant weight and helped change perceptions among musicians and fans who had been skeptical of Prince's abilities. The encounter also influenced both artists' subsequent work. Eddie became more openly appreciative of different musical genres and more willing to acknowledge that technical mastery could be expressed in many different contexts. Prince began incorporating more prominent guitar work into his performances and recordings, demonstrating his advanced abilities more openly while maintaining his emphasis on serving the overall musical vision. Today, the story of Prince's 0.19-second demonstration is remembered as one of the most dramatic examples of how quickly assumptions about artistic ability can be shattered by direct experience. The encounter serves as a powerful reminder that commercial success and popular appeal don't necessarily indicate artistic limitations, and that true musical mastery often transcends genre categories and commercial considerations. The lesson from that July evening at Madison Square Garden remains relevant for anyone involved in artistic evaluation or criticism. The most dangerous assumption is that commercial success or popular accessibility indicates a lack of serious artistic ability, And the most valuable discoveries often occur when we set aside our preconceptions and pay attention to what artists are actually capable of achieving. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the most legendary backstage encounters in rock history. If this story inspired you to look beyond surface impressions and commercial categories to recognize true artistic excellence wherever it appears, please subscribe and share your own experiences of discovering unexpected talent in the comments below.